Jiří Karásek z Lvovic was a Czech writer, poet, translator and editor, and known contributor to decadent literature. Born in 1871 in Prague, the son of conductor Andreas Karásek and Anna Fajtová, he attended a theological school in Prague for 2 years before moving to Bavaria. He became a post office official in 1892. In 1894, he co-founded the Modern Review magazine with Arnošt Procházka, a magazine focused on art, art critique and art theory. In 1921 he became director of the library of the Ministry of the Post, and director of the Post Museum and Archive. He was also a collector, having collected some 38,000 pieces of art and several thousand books. He also added from Lvovice to his name as a nobiliary particle, despite there being no evidence he was related to the Lvovici from Lvovice. He died in Prague in 1951. He began publishing in 1894 and released several books of poetry, such as Sexus Necans and Sodome, which was confiscated by authorities due to its immoral content, quote-unquote. Today we will be reviewing the 1991 selection of most of his prose fiction, A Gothic Soul and Other Stories. A Gothic Soul is one of his most famous works, even published in English in 2015. As he says in the introduction, it is not really a novel, but just a series of diary entries from a man who does nothing but think and sulk, while also saying biographies are repugnant, and only autobiographies are acceptable, but only if they don't tell the truth. The protagonist is a scion of a family of knights, being raised by his ancient aunts to become a priest. He often wonders at the physical resemblance of himself to a family member who went insane, and keeps wondering if his fate is to end up the same. He questions his faith, finds he does not believe in God, but is obsessed with old chapels, especially the Carmelitan church, whose occupants take a vow of eternal separation from the world, and may never leave the church, or even see anyone from the outside world ever again. He tries to find friends but can't seem to start a conversation, preferring to imagine who the other person is than actually asking them, and he always makes declarations about how he will change his life around, but always immediately abandons all his resolve, until his final end. There are basically no other characters but himself for most of the novel, and it is interesting, though he will repeat himself a lot, and the stagnation may be a bit hard to break through. Daphne's grief as a young boy named Staphylos, who lies down upon the skin of a sacrificed animal beneath an old venerated laurel tree, which is known to spread melancholy and sadness upon those near it and those who are crowned with its laurels. And as he lays there, he hears the tree, formerly a dryad, whom Zeus turned into a tree to save her from Apollo's lust, but which he had left as a tree forever, Daphne standing immovable, lamenting never being able to move again, or to die, because Zeus forgot about her. Salome's death tells the story of the biblical Salome, in love with a young and beautiful Nubian, who scoffs at her gifts, finding her too old. She succeeding in arousing his passions but once, but her eventual failure makes her send Sehon the Nubian one final gift, her own severed head. Genenda is the story of a Spanish Jewess who loves a nobleman who does not know she exists, but who, on the day of her being marched to be burned alive in an auto-da-fe, for secretly still being Jewish, is enraptured by her single glance, and thus she burns her image into his mind, leading him to embrace her in a fiery embrace from beyond the grave, via a Madonna statue. The remaining stories are retellings of Christian fables, usually the lives of saints, such as Saint Sebastian, or the Carmelites, a favourite topic of the authors. Most of these are not that interesting, and are quite heavy on theology. However, the first few stories are a good example of decadent fiction, and I wish more of them will be translated.